Let's just keep it a buck here, bro. Regardless of where you're at in life, your reality revolves around a set of rules. And look, man, I ain't talking about no damn traffic laws, but rather the laws of the universe.
Each of us lives dependent and bound by our individual knowledge and our awareness. All that is what we call reality. However, both knowledge and awareness are equivocal. One's reality might be another's illusion. We all live inside our own fantasies. Don't you think that's true, Sasuke?
Apples fall, birds fly, humans live and eventually die. This is just the way things go within the natural flow of reality, as our entire existence follows a set of cosmic laws that affect everyone and everything. But hey man, when you finally take a step back and actually analyze these natural laws of life, you'll soon come to realize where the real answers to them reside, leading you to seek the truth that lies within. For it is said that those who uncover the secrets to self-mastery will inevitably also gain the keys to unlock their reality. And this in a nutshell is essentially the core tenet of some of the most sacred teachings of time. One in particular being the ancient wisdom brought to us by the early Hermetics, a philosophy founded by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Hermes Trismegistus, aka the thrice greatest, a mysterious figure whose fingerprints can be found scattered all over the world, from being depicted as the ancient Egyptian god Thoth, the Greek messenger god Hermes, who was also referred to as Mercury by the Romans, as well as a mentor to the father of all faiths, aka the prophet Abraham himself. But regardless of where the exact origins of Hermes Trismegistus trace back to, his universal knowledge has remained a staple in many other cultures, traditions, and spiritual practices of time, leaving a lasting imprint on the collective consciousness of the world that is still being felt to this day, where his sacred teachings have been resurfaced and revived within the pages of the Kybalion, a modernized collection of these lessons about the natural laws of life written by the three initiates, which have come to form what we know of as today as the 7 Hermetic Principles.
Study your laws of the universe. The law of attraction, the law of abundance, the law of equivalent exchange. Study your laws, the laws of cause and effect, the karmic cycle. Study your laws.
So enough said, man. It's time for you to buckle up because your boy's about to break this down real quick like a brick for y'all. Starting off with the first and most important law of all, the principle of mentalism. All is mind, the universe is mental. Now this concept is centered on the idea that everything within this world is a result of a mental thought that first preceded it, as mind rules over matter. And according to this law, the universe in itself is merely just a mental projection of the all. So taking this into account, we can come to realize how much potential really resides within the power of our minds, giving us more incentive to learn its inner workings and understand how to develop it properly. Because as stated by the Buddha himself, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create, further emphasizing the importance of the principle of mentalism.
A warrior's strength is always important in a battle, but it's not enough. The mind is also a powerful weapon and must be developed just like your muscles.
All in all though, this law acts as the essential framework needed to understand the 6 other ones that lie ahead. And along with that, it is said that he who grasps the concept that the universe is of a purely mental nature is well advanced on the path to mastery. So just keep in mind that all is mind, and let's continue to the next law on the list, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Now this famous saying is a reference to the underlying connection between the macrocosm and the microcosm, or the universe and the self, as the whole of everything in existence is contained within its parts. So the laws that govern and dictate the universe are the same exact ones that overlook your own individual being. And this ideology can be found all throughout the different natural phenomenons of life, where the same structure of an entire galaxy can be found in something as minuscule and microscopic as a subatomic particle, or how the shape and form of a helix nebula can be found within a pair of eyes.
Everything small is just a small version of something big. I understand everything!
Whoa, bud, are you okay?
But nevertheless, by actualizing this principle, we can come to understand our role as being a co-creator of our own realities. Because as we stated before in the first Hermetic law, all is mind and the universe is mental. So now when we take that knowledge and add on to it the lessons received in the second principle, we come to realize that the mind of God, or the mind of the universe itself, is the same mind that we inherently inhabit to a certain degree, giving us the ability to create and shape our lives like the creator once we learn how to harness his power properly. As above, so below. Come on, man, it's time for you to tap in and get with the flow. Which brings us over to the third universal law, the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Now it is said that he who understands this principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, which is an esoteric symbol of authority and prestige, representing a state of supremacy and dominion over life itself. But aside from the spiritual aspects, this law is actually something that modern scientists have also caught up to as well, coming to the conclusion that motion is manifest in everything, and that the difference between how things are represented within this physical plane is dictated by their vibratory state, where the higher it goes, the more light and fluid it will be, while the lower it goes, the more gross and dense it will be. So by knowing this, we are given more insights to the metaphysical aspects of our reality. As once stated by the great Nikola Tesla himself, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, hinting back to the ancient knowledge passed on by the Hermetics. But to further expand upon this idea and link it back to the two previous principles we discussed before, we must come to understand that our thoughts also emit a certain frequency that is picked up by the cosmic energy field, and this frequency eventually formulates our experience on the outer state. So in order for you to truly impact and influence your external reality, you first must start to shift your mental state to that of what you desire, because this is what will inevitably allow you to vibrate at a higher state and attract the things that align with this newfounded frequency. But in the world we be living in today, everybody be getting this idea backwards, thinking through merely physical means they'll be able to change the current situation that they're in, when in reality they're doing all this while still remaining stuck in the same mental state that's keeping them there, leading them to constantly spin their wheels over and over again, wondering when the hell is this shit gonna come to an end. But hey man, as we know now, mind rules over matter, and that your external existence is merely just a reflection of what's going on within. So to see any type of change on the outside world, you first must start on the inside, as an emphasis of understanding this principle with the appropriate formulas enables the student to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others, allowing them to effectively bend the wheel of reality to their favor. Which brings us over to the next Hermetic law, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles. Now this law relates to the fact that opposites are identical in nature but differ in degree, and within the dualistic nature of this world, which seemingly separates everything from its parts, we can take this principle to find the middle ground where these two ends come to meet. For example, when looking at something like hot and cold, we see that on the surface that these are essentially paradoxes of each other, but by taking a deeper look into the details, we can find the hidden truth that lies underneath, as hot and cold are merely just different variations of each other, where one exists on one side of the pole while the other exists on the opposite, which ties back into the principle of vibration, as it states that the difference between how things materialize out onto the physical world is dictated by the vibratory set point. So in this case, heat refers to the presence of the frequency that manifests itself as warmth, while cold, still being on the same scale, is portrayed by the absence of it, which in turn drives them over to one side of the spectrum or the other. And this concept can be seen all throughout life, from day and night, up and down, love and hate, yin and yang. So by realizing this, we can expand our perspectives on how this principle works in conjunction with the other laws we previously discussed, as one's mental state and vibrational frequency can either be slid up or down the scale to emphasize one pole or the other, which in turn causes a shift within their external reality. Where attention goes, energy flows. So by playing this properly, we can sway our minds to the specific direction needed to suit our goals, which brings us over to the next law on the list, the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Now this principle points out how all things in life are in a constant state of flux, as the pendulum swing manifests in every single thing. So in order for us to flow within this grand symphony of cycles, we must learn how to position ourselves properly along this continuum, and this is done through what the Hermetics called as the law of neutralization, or the middle way commonly referred to by Eastern traditions, as they both knew that change is the only constant in life, and that nothing in this world is permanent, everything is temporary. Mercury, which allows them to be free from being swung to and fro on this swing set of life. Since an understanding of the workings of this principle will give one the key to mastery over the rhythmic swings of feelings, and will enable him to know himself better and avoid being carried away by these inflows and outflows. So with all that said, when you start to apply the teachings within this principle, you will become better equipped to pinpoint the swing of the pendulum, helping you return back to the center point within your state of mind, which is absolutely key within this game of life, as there's some things in this world that simply cannot be changed. So all that can be done is to simply learn how it's played, which is something all individuals with a certain degree of self-mastery do more or less unconsciously, while the rest of the world gets their mental framework flip-flop up and down like a goddamn roller coaster.
Don't feel so good.
Now moving on to the next law, we have the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause, which emphasizes the point that everything happens in accordance to law, and chance is merely just but a name for a law not yet recognized. Most of us know this as the concept of karma, where every action receives an equal and opposite reaction, which in turn creates a domino effect that continues onward. But now with the information from the previous laws we discussed before, we can take this understanding to a whole nother level, bringing it all the way back to the first law of mentalism. See, when a thought catches enough momentum through repeated energy and attention going towards it, it grows to the point where it eventually manifests as a vibratory frequency, which are felt through sensations, aka emotions, that in turn causes us to transmute this energy into motion and materialize its form out onto the physical plane. Now when this physical act is expressed, it will cause a secondary effect that must be picked up and interpreted by the mind, which inevitably kickstarts the process to the cycle once again, forming a continuous feedback loop that keeps on spinning. So by implementing these insights, one is able to rise above the ordinary plane of cause and effect and essentially influence it to the point where they become causers instead of the ones who are affected, as the masses of the people who are carried away obedient to their environments, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, suggestions and other outward causes are moved about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the master rising to the planes above, who learns to dominate their moods, character, qualities, powers, as well as the environment that surrounds them, become movers instead of pawns.
Causality. There is no escape from it. We are forever slaves to it. Our only hope, our only peace is to understand it, to understand the why. Why is what separates us from them.
So as you can see here, this is essentially how one creates their own karma and makes it work to their advantage, acting as a catapult to propel them towards their desired destinations in life, which, what do you know, is essentially the basic framework of the law of attraction. And moving on to the last and final hermetic law on the list, we have the principle of gender. Gender is in everything and manifests on all planes. Now this law revolves around the idea that everything has its masculine and feminine attributes, which of course includes your mind. This is referring to the left and right hemispheres of the brain, which one would ideally want to have a marriage between, hinting back to the middle way that allows us to detach and rise above the principle of polarity. Because for one to truly attain the supreme state of self-mastery, they must have these two opposite sides of the mind harmonize and work together as one, since the masculine without the feminine would bring forth chaos and no reasoning, and the feminine without the masculine would fail to act upon anything and result in stagnation. So we all must seek to embrace this symbiotic relationship and use it to ascend towards the highest degree. And trust me bro, it'll be quite easy to identify what area that you're lacking on, as all you need to do is sit back and observe the unbalances in the current reality that you've manifested for yourself. But taking it a step even further, this concept of the sacred union, or otherwise known as a great arcanum, has remained a key part in many ancient teachings all throughout human history, where the pairing between the two poles of Adam and Eve, Hermes and Aphrodite, Shiva and Shakti, all come together to form the picture of perfection, symbolizing this being the pinnacle of the synergistic balance of life. And biologically speaking, the center point of the mind where the two hemispheres of the brain meet is actually where the pineal gland resides, aka the third eye, which the Hermetics consider to be the eye of God, believed to bestow men with the cosmic knowledge of the universe referred to as gnosis, which sets them on the path of achieving the ultimate state of self-mastery. So as you can see here, maybe these old Hermetic geezers knew a thing or two about cracking the code to life.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
But with all that said, man, these 7 hermetic laws of the universe are merely here to act as a guideline to help humanity realize their true potential in life, providing them with the necessary tools needed to shape and mold the systems that govern their internal world that will inevitably cause a ripple effect in their external world. So don't take this for granted, bro, because the blueprint to really boss up in all areas of life has already been laid out for you through the timeless teachings of Mr. Trismegistus himself. All that's left is for you to plug in these principles into your daily life and watch how its magic starts to materialize.